Emily Hill is senior counsel for the Commission. She's in Halifax. Emily Hill, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'd like to start, if I could, with your assessment of how this inquiry is going. There's been some controversy with families of victims frustrated. They boycotted some of the hearings. Does that level of dissent undermine the work you're doing here?
Inquiry is going well. We are well underway. There is a lot of work to do. We have a big mandate and a short period of time to do it. I think that's, we've had some concerns from the families as we've gone along. It's important to know that the families are participants in our process. So we've been working with them all the way through, and I certainly made our process bigger. Which has made it better.
Right. Well, I'd like to walk through some of this, if I could, for an audience that maybe isn't as immersed in the details, because some of the families are frustrated that their lawyers couldn't, for example, cross-examine RCMP officers who are allowed to do pre-recorded interviews with just the Commission counsel asking questions, and others were allowed to testify by affidavit. Why did the Commission take that approach?
So public inquiries are flexible legal processes. They're not trials, and they're guided by the public interest, making sure that we get the information that we need from individuals about what happened on April 18th and 19th and about some of the underlying context. So with regard to particular witnesses, we've heard from witnesses in lots of different ways. We've had many witnesses come and testify and be questioned by all counsel. We have had others, yes, provide information in written form by affidavit. And in the case of two witnesses, we decided that the best way to hear from them would be to have questions sent in advance from participants, have them questioned, and they were questioned, each of them all day, by Commission counsel. And then we broke twice to hear if there were any questions that other family members or participant counsel had, to make sure that everyone got the questions that they had answered. Those videos of them being questioned were posted on the website within 24 hours, and they're on our website if anyone's interested.
Well, why take an approach like that? I've covered a few public inquiries in my life, and usually anyone who testifies are there, and everybody gets to stand up and ask questions in real time without this sort of a process. So why do it that way?
Yeah, as you can imagine, the mass casualty is a very difficult topic. It was a very traumatic event. And so when our rules provide that if witnesses need accommodation, if they need to give their evidence in a different way for us to make sure that we get the answers we need, they can apply for that. So when we receive those applications, we consider them. And in this case, that was the best way for these witnesses to share their evidence.
And so this is the trauma-informed approach that people talk about. I wonder, though, given the frustrations you've heard from the family, how do you balance this need for a trauma-informed approach to this commission while also ensuring that the families of the victims feel like proper accountability is being attained?
So trauma-informed doesn't mean that we don't ask hard questions, that we don't get the information that we need, the information that's in the public interest for us to seek out. It just means that we have to be thoughtful about how we get that evidence. So in this case, again, participants were given the opportunity to share their views about the processes that were undertaken, as well as the rules that we developed as we did our work together. But ultimately, the commissioners have to decide what's the best way to get the information that we need. We're glad that the participants have rejoined the process and are engaged. We've heard from a number of RCMP witnesses since, the two that you've been asking me about, and we will continue to do so. This summer, I know we're going to be hearing from Commissioner Lucky and others who were in the key command positions, both in Nova Scotia and Ottawa, and we know that participants will have questions for them as well.
Right, so will these accommodations apply to those future witnesses? Will the families, for example, be allowed to have their lawyers question Brenda Lucky when she testifies in real time? How will that work?
That's the normal course with how the investigation, how the commission does its questioning. So I expect that will be the case.
Okay. So earlier this week, we heard from Provincial Department of Justice officials who said that their victim support work, obviously the trauma of this event on the families, the communities, and the entire province, but that their victim support work in the communities most impacted by the mass shooting still continues. I mean, what does it say to you that 2 years on, this is still ongoing?
This is a really important part of the Commission's mandate, is understanding what steps were taken to support those who were directly impacted, as well as the broader community. And I think that what you're saying is what we have heard as well, that the need in the community for ongoing support is continuing. That's information that we're going to be exploring next week through some witnesses, as well as through an expert who works in the US with mass casualty survivors to identify what do survivors need, what do communities need, what helps them heal. So we're going to be hearing from Dr. Jacqueline Childcoat next week and to ask these very questions.
Right, so the inquiry does resume next Monday. Beyond the testimony from this doctor, I mean, what should we expect next from this commission?
So next week, as I say, we're going to be hearing from witnesses and presenting more documents that are about that part of our mandate, about the information that families sought. One of the things that we know from families and other members in the community was it was really difficult to get information as the mass casualty was unfolding. And so we're going to hear some evidence about that next week.
I wonder, do you have a sense of where trust is with the police forces from some of the families? I mean, given the frustrations and the issues that have arisen throughout the inquiry, do you think it will be possible for some of the families who have expressed this frustration to accept the findings of this commission and trust the outcome given their concerns about the process?
I think that in order to make meaningful recommendations, in order to ensure that we're all working toward recommendations that will help community safety, we have to look at that issue with regard to what do community members, families, and others who are engaged with the police, what do they trust the police, and what helps with that, so that we can look at that issue and ensure that it's part of our recommendations going forward.
Okay, Emily Hill, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.